Hi guys, this is Maggie and welcome back to another Doctor Who video. So today we're going back to my normal pace video, top 10s and all that. I've also got a bunch of video ideas typed up on my phone, ready to do. Some inspired by Who Culture. I'm not a copyright person, okay? I never copyright anybody. I just take a few ideas from their videos and put them into mine. That's all I do. So yeah, there's no harm in doing that. So today we're doing top 10 7th Doctor videos. Also, I've got a bit more news about Series 13 and the new Doctor, by the way. The BBC have announced, I'll just find the article for you, have announced the new generation of Doctor Who will be announced in due course. I thought you guys would be best pleased to hear that. I'll just get the article up for you guys so you can see it and you can read it. Just wanted to put this bit of news in before. BBC confirms announcement of the new generation of Doctor Who is coming soon. Doctor Who star and lead writers are off, but their replacements will be coming in due course. It's official, Jodie Whittaker is leaving Doctor Who alongside series showrunner Chris Chibnall, with the pair set to depart the TARDIS next year after a 6-part series in 2021 and a trio of specials in 2022, and the BBC have confirmed that the pair will be replaced in the coming months, assuring any fan fears that the series could be rested or cancelled after Whittaker and Chibnall's departure. We will announce plans for the new generation of Doctor Who in due course. Watch this space, the BBC said. Though, with over a year of adventures to come, the 13th Doctor still has plenty in store for fans. I can't imagine working with a more inspirational Doctor, so I'm not going to, Chibnall added. I wish our successors, whoever the BBC and BBC Studios chose, as much fun as we've had. They're in for a treat. Rumours of Whittaker's departures have been rumbled for a few months before the official announcement was made, with the likes of Michaela Cole, Jo Martin and Ollie Alexander mooted as potential successors for the 39-year-old actor. However, it is less clear at the time whether Chibnall would follow Whittaker off the show, and indeed who could be in the frame to replace him if he did leave. Previously regarding Who contributors like Mark Gatiss or Toby Whitehouse have been considered, but many as potential showrunner material. But since Chibnall took over in 2017, neither have penetrated an episode, with both writers/actors moving on to other projects. Within the current stable of Who writers, only a handful, including Vata Patil and Pete McTeague, have written more than one episode, and it's unclear whether the BBC would look within current writing staff or elsewhere to find someone to take on the often demanding showrunner job. In other words, the speculation isn't just for who could replace Jodie Whittaker anymore. Who is the new Chris Chibnall? Take all your bets. So I just wanted to put that in there because just to reassure you guys that the new showrunner has been discussed at the BBC, and they have obviously found the new showrunner, and the 60th anniversary looks like it is going to be happening, but the new showrunner has literally got to step into that. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So, top 10 7th Doctor videos. Number 10, Love and War. A really good place to start with 7th Doctor novel is here with Paul McGartney's Love and War. Though it also made a pretty good audio adventure for Big Finish, as well as the book introducing Bernie Summerfield as a companion of the Doctor, who was popular enough to spin off in her own series later. The book follows the Doctor and Ace, and as Ace falls in love with a man. Please. Nope. Sorry guys, it's stories, not. God, 7th. Sorry guys. Episodes. God. Sorry guys, I didn't realise. I'm an idiot. Anyway. This will be top 5 by the looks of things, but still, I'm sorry guys, I didn't realise it was stories. I thought it was episodes. My bad. Sorry. Sorry guys, I didn't realise. Okay, I'll just do top 5 because it's only going to be top 5. So this is going to be the first top 5. So number 5, survival. The first one we'll be looking at this list is also the last. Not just the Seventh Doctor's run, but also the entire classic series, and honestly Survival wasn't that bad of a story to end on. In fact, it shares a lot in common with some of the earlier stories of the new series 16 years later. First of all, there's a hefty focus on the original modern day setting of the Companion's home. There have been plenty of stories set in the modern day before, but usually those stories would have been focused on scientists, unit or army soldiers or general politicians, etc. It was very rare to focus on just ordinary people who lived in the suburbs, so it was great for Survival to focus on it more. At just 3 episodes, it's also fast-paced than your average 4-part story. There's still room to explore interesting ideas, such as the cheetah people. This was quite an interesting race, and Ace's relationship with them was particularly great to watch. I love Survival, by the way. Topped off with possibly Anthony Irons' best performance as the Master, and a really great climate scene between the two arch enemies, and it's enough to make you sad that the classic series ended when it did, just as it seems to be finding its feet again. The greatest show in the galaxy. This is such a bizarre and surreal story to watch at times. It's not just rather unusual and distinct mix of colourful characters that make this so strange. In this story, you have explorers and clowns alongside geeks and werewolves. But there was also the sheer contrast in tone, or at least the contrast of what was on the surface compared to what was underneath. Because on the surface, at least the greatest show in the galaxy has a bright and colourful story, the circus has many acts, and we see the Seventh Doctor perform some tricks, including juggling. There's even a rapping ringmaster. It was the 80s after all. However, just underneath that bright and shiny surface, there was a great deal of horror too. There's a lot of death and darkness to this story. Captain Cook is someone who appears charming and nice before very quickly revealing himself as an absolutely ruthless and calculating villain. The circus audience and entirely depth at first seeming like an ordinary family, you grow to become more and more terrifying each time they raise their scorecards for each of their acts. But in Ian's reference to Chief Clown, that was the most efficient, sinister and terrifying in an incredible, memorable performance. It's also a brilliant reason why the Greatest Show in the Galaxy is such a brilliant story for the Seventh Doctor. Number 3, Ghostlight. By the way, I'm just reading what it says on my phone, just so you guys know. Ghostlight. This is a bit of an odd choice for me to rank so highly, because even after multiple viewings, I'm not sure I entirely get Ghostlight, at least story-wise. There was a lot of ideas and elements, and it's packed into its 3 episodes. Unsurprisingly, some of those ideas and concepts have gone straight over my head. So why am I rating it so highly? Because if there's one Doctor Who story that proves that understanding its plot entirely isn't exactly necessary to love it, it's Ghostlight. There's just so much about this serial that I enjoy. For one thing, I adore the atmosphere of it, especially how it is entirely set in a spooky mansion of Gabriel Gears. That's a great deal of low lighting, which adds to the whole atmosphere. Despite its title, Ghostlight isn't a great story as such, but it feels very close to one at times. There are also so many different concept characters that add to the strangeness and darkness of the story. I also love the concepts that I have been able to understand. I love this story exploration of both evaluating and the fear of change, and the more I watch Ghostlight, the more of it I understand, and the more I enjoy it. It's definitely a great example of the story that awards more of a rewatch. A darker relationship. But the biggest reason why I love it, it is definitely the relationship between the Seventh Doctor and Ace. This story defines that relationship in a big way. I think at the very least, it helps ensure that it stands out more with the whole average Doctor-companion relationship. I don't mean in a romantic sense, like 10 and Rose or 11 and River. No, this is far more alien and darker than that. The Seventh Doctor has brought Ace to Gabriel Chase as a surprise visit where they learn Ace specifically told him that she was terrified of the place, but back in her time, it makes that surprise rather horrifying. The Seventh Doctor isn't interested in being nice or respectful to his companions' wishes. Instead, he wants them to face their fears, to be stronger more than ever. He wants to be more proactive in facing evil and darkness, regardless of the consequences. Ghostlight defines the Seventh Doctor in a big way, iconic really considering it was the final story produced of the classic series. Nevertheless, it left a big impact on the expanded universe that followed, particularly the New Adventure series of the novels from the 90s, as well as Big Finish audios. Because of the impact on those stories, Ghostlight is definitely a must-watch. Number 2, Curse of Frederick. Oh wow, where to begin with Curse of Frederick? It just includes so much. World War II, Vikings, curses, vampires, evil gods, and some major relations for Ace. This is a story that crams in so much. For some stories, even 4 episodes would be a little too long. But that certainly wasn't the case here. If anything, it wasn't enough, which is why this story has an extended edition on DVD. Like the very best stories, it's not just the plot that makes this story so great. I love the characters and their development. This is particularly noticeable for Ace, who seems to grow from a rebellious teenager to a young woman in this one. It doesn't change her completely, but her growth is great to watch. But even the characters written solemnly for this particular story are fascinating. My favourite has been Revenue Wainwright, as played by Nicholas Parsons, a big name in television and radio. This could have been just a bit of a stunning cast of producers, which have definitely happened before, but Parsons played the role of vicar, struggling with his faith rather brilliantly. Questions of faith. Speaking of faith, that other element I adore about this story, the power of faith itself is rather beautiful, exploring the Curse of Frederick. It's not religious faith that deals with either its exploration of faith in ideas as well as faith in others. But before you ask why I haven't heard anything official, I've been very surprised in this story. Has it influenced 11th Doctor episodes, The God Complex, in several big ways? Once again, this other story that explores the 7th Doctor, Ace, and their relationship wonderfully well. There's one particular iconic scene where the Doctor has to save Ace, but by any means necessary, and it's brutal. It's a wonderful ending to a phenomenal story, and I suspect a lot of fans are going to be mad that I placed this second. So, what is the very best 7th Doctor story on television? And number 1, Remembrance of the Daleks. I love this story. Of course, Remembrance of the Daleks is number 1 for 7th Doctor. This story was in many ways a game changer. I mentioned at the start of this article that his first season had far from the best stories, and while Dragonfire wasn't too bad and ended on a great quote, I still wasn't quite up there with the best stories. And then along came season 25. To say that started with a bang with the Remembrance of the Daleks is an understatement. Frankly, I think it's one of the very best stories that the show has made in years. Firstly, you have the 7th Doctor's character defined in a distinctive and brilliant way. Through season 24, the writers seemed to really struggle with finding the right sort of development for McCoy's Doctor in the time of Rani. He was a Doctor who came across a fool, mixing his metaphors and falling for really basic disguises. It wasn't the best impression of his new Doctor. In Remembrance, he's more secretive. He knows what he's going on before anyone else does. He He's certainly aware of what the Daleks are planning, or at the very least, what their main object is, and he's very proactive in making plans of his own against them. He's no longer the Doctor who simply reacts to his enemy's schemes, but the man who's working on stopping them from the start. He's not perfect. They are key plans and moves from his enemies make that he overlooks, but he's still brilliantly clever when it comes to his own schemes, action and mature themes. Another thing I love about Remembrance, how absolutely action-packed it is. Seriously, this is not a term I use lightly, but it's definitely a term that fits Remembrance of the Daleks rather well. You have soldiers versus Daleks, Daleks versus Daleks, Daleks getting blown to bits, and so much more. How the production team was able to make all of this on such a small budget, I have no idea. Obviously, Doctor Who isn't something that we watch purely for epic battles, but when it's done right and works well as part of a multi-layered story, bloody hell, it is satisfied. We also get a ton of exploring on racism, a subject matter as heavy as can be difficult to tell Doctor Who stories. In the case of Remembrance of the Daleks, it handles just right. We see it with the two groups of Daleks who are at war with each other, because one group is slightly different to the other, at least genetically. But we also see it in some of the humans in 1960 England. One particular small but memorable moment is Ace seeing a sign saying no coloureds. Her anger at the sign saying it doesn't overshadow the story, but is a key element of it. I could go on about Remembrance of the Daleks forever. It really is not just one of my favourite Seventh Doctor stories, but one of my favourite Doctor Who stories ever made. It has everything I look for in a serial: an effective use of the Doctor, a great story of good versus evil, multiple themes and fleshed out characters. If there is one Seventh Doctor story you need to see, it's most definitely this one. So there you have it. So there you have it. Top 5 Seventh Doctor stories. I'm sorry I couldn't find 10, but I didn't realise that the first lot I was doing was stories. Anyway, I hope also that article I read at the beginning as well also helps you guys know that Doctor Who's not being cancelled, that the BBC know who the new showrunner is, know who the new generation of Doctor Who is, know who the new Doctor is, but they'll announce everything in due course. That's kind of what I was worried about, but I don't need to be worried about that now. The BBC have reassured me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Make sure you click that big subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And stay wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Alonzi.